I'd like to welcome you all to today's interest group session featuring cyber seniors talking about web browser anatomy. Again, if you could give an introduction of yourself and what you'll be covering today, Annie, would appreciate that. But I really look forward to your session and thank you so much for coming.
Not a problem. Let me stop this sharing so I can do mine. Okay, you did. Thank you. 1 second. All right. Thank you everybody for being here. Just so you remember who am I. So my name is Annie. I work for Cyber Seniors. I know like a lot of you because we had like a couple years, I would say, having these sessions and teaching you how to use your electronic devices. So today we are going to explore a little bit more about browsers. And you probably have heard about browsers, whether you realize it or not. And we are going to go into the deeps of it and see how they came to be so important in our lives and things of that nature. So I will be sharing my screen now. I prepare a nice presentation for you today. And I also have questions at the end. So if you don't have questions and you want to make the sessions more interactive, feel free to participate. I hope Alex will help me managing the participation portion if you guys want to give me answers as I'm going through the things. And let's get this going. So give me a minute here so I can get my slides ready for you. Just 1
Sure.
minute.
And really quick while Annie gets her slides up, just everyone in Zoom, just to practice, you can raise your hand by tapping more at the top right of Zoom, and then you can tap raise hand. So can everyone in Zoom please raise their hand just to practice while Annie gets her session up. But yes, that's
Awesome.
that way make sure everyone has the opportunity to speak.
Wonderful.
Thank
All
you.
right.
We had 14 hands up, so you can lower your hands by hitting lower at the bottom as well. So thank you
Yeah.
all so much.
All righty. So I think I'm ready to go.
Mhm.
So let's get this party started. And just confirm to me, Alex, when you can see the slides, please. That you can see just as fine.
Yes, you're good to go. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. All righty. So we are going to explore web browsing anatomy today. And essentially what this goes about is about the parts and pieces of a web browser. So that is going to be our topic, and I hope you guys enjoying this topic today. And as the world has become increasingly more connected, as we are here today on Zoom, you did not imagine this happening back in the 60s, in the 50s, or even your 70s, right? People rely on the internet for communication, education, health, entertainment, and way more things. One software, however, powers all these technologies, and that is the browser. The browser allows you to use the internet and access websites on your computer, tablet, TV, and your cell phones. And before we jump in, here's my disclaimer so we all know what is happening in this session. So presentations are intended for educational purposes only and do not replace independent professional judgment. Statements of fact and opinions are expressed are those of the participants individually, and unless stated to the contrary, are not the opinions or positions of Cyber Seniors. Cyber Seniors doesn't endorse and assumes no responsibility for the information content, precision, or completeness. Keep in mind also that these sessions are audio and video recorded and may be published in different media sources, including audio and video formats without further notice. With that out of the way, so let's explore our table of content, and we are going to start with the browser's beginnings, moving to what makes a browser, and understanding the front end of a browser. Finally, we are going to end with browsers' commonly used jargon, which is some common words you will hear here and there when it comes to talking about browsers. And let's start with a little bit of history because we all love that. Browsers emerged when the internet blossomed in the 1990s and the World Wide Web was just a buzzword. And about the beginnings of these browser systems, we have here the World Wide Web. The first web browser, World Wide Web, was developed by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in 1990 while working at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. This browser was a basic text-based program that allowed users to view and navigate through hypertext documents. So nothing complex as the browsers we know these days. We have Mosaic in 1993, the first graphical, meaning with more images, web browser. Mosaic was developed by a team at the National Center for Supercomputing Application, also known as NCSA, and also Netscape Navigator was released a year after Mosaic. It was an intelligent web browser that quickly gained market share because of its user-friendly interface. Whenever we say user-friendly, just think about the people who use the function or the tool usually have a less hard time using that tool if it's user-friendly. That is what it means. And also, these browsers support multimedia. Mosaic user-friendly interface, just elaborating a little bit more on that, had clickable links and images, made gathering information much easier just for the fact that those two options were available. And also, users described as a more enjoyable experience when they were using the application. And this success of Mosaic led to the development of other graphical browsers as we know them today. And of course, they paved the way for the second browser you see in this, which is Netscape Navigator, and also Internet Explorer, which we will talk a little bit more in the next couple of slides. Internet Explorer was released by Microsoft in 1995. It quickly overtook Netscape, which is the previous browser we were discussing, as the most popular browser by integrating tightly with the Windows operating system. What this means is that back in the day, Internet Explorer was the browser of choice for those who use Microsoft, as it was combined with the system of Microsoft. Internet Explorer was the unavoidable guest almost at every party when it comes to technology. It was omnipresent and somewhat imposed into the whole dynamic of technology. It was bundled, as I just mentioned, with Windows operating systems and had the home field advantage. It was the giant of browsers back in the days, and while it might not have been the most efficient or loved browser, it dominated. And for many, that was the window to the internet as we know today. However, Internet Explorer shut down entirely in 2020, just 4 years before. All right, and Mozilla. So Mozilla, the open source browser movement began in the late 90s with the release of Mozilla, which later became the basis for Firefox browser. I don't know if you guys have in mind what Mozilla is. I hope that when I describe it, it makes sense. It looks like a fox is going around itself, and it has like orangey kind of looking colors. If you don't know how it looked like, I will show you later on. Firefox release in 2004 was well known for the speed, security, and also because it support web modern standards. So that is Mozilla. And here we have the revolution of Chrome. In 2008, Google released Chrome, a browser with terrific speed, security, and support for web standards. Chrome's success led to similar browsers like Apple's Safari and Opera. The first beta version of Chrome was released on September 2, 2008 for personal computers, also known as PCs, running various versions of Microsoft Corporation's Windows in also operating systems. All right. So the revolution of Chrome. The development of Chrome was kept well guarded until a web-based comic book describing the browser was released just hours before links appeared on Google's website to download the program. So before the actual giant Google launched the browser Chrome, somebody was writing about it in a comic page. In public statements, Google declared that it did not expect to supplant the major browsers, such as Microsoft Internet Explorer and Firefox, which was an open source browser that Google helped with technically and financially speaking. Google stated that its goal was to advance the usefulness of the internet by including features that will work better with newer technologies, such as the company's Google Apps, Calendar, word processor, spreadsheets, and things of that nature that essentially now operate within the browser. This concept is often called cloud computing, as the user relies on programs operating out there somewhere in the cloud to use some of these tools. Now, in 2012, Microsoft released a new Internet Explorer, also known as EI10. I say that incorrectly, IE10, to compete with modern browsers. And while it significantly improved, Chrome and Firefox had already established themselves as the dominant browsers. Subsequently, instead of playing catch up with Internet Explorer, Microsoft released a new browser called Edge. So now you will see Microsoft Edge. If you use a Microsoft computer, a Windows computer, this is the browser of choice by these kind of devices. It was a massive improvement over Internet Explorer in speed and support for web standards. So we are going to move to the actual interesting part of the browser because we are going to understand better what they do, the things they do. Browsers are responsible for retrieving and displaying web content to users. When a user enters a URL, we will discuss URLs later on, or clicks on a link, URL or links is in essence the same thing. The browser initiates a complex series of actions to retrieve the web content from a server and display it on the user's device. What this means is whenever you go on the internet and you type something in the search bar, the browser will start looking for the information you type there. Now, usually these days is fast, but back in the day, the process was much more slow. The process begins with domain name system, also known as DNS resolution, where the browser translates the domain name into an IP address to locate the server where the web page is stored. So that is a little bit of how that process of finding information online goes about. And continuing with that, so the browser sends an HTTP request to the server specifying the path and parameters of the requested resource. Once the servers receive the request, meaning after you type something on the internet, it sends an HTTP response to the browser containing the requested resource. These resources are in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. We will see the description of these things later on, so don't be afraid, don't get antsy, we will get there. The browser's rendering engine analyzes them and renders the code to display the web page on the user's device, so the results you see. And the CSS style sheets are applied to the format of the web content. That's why you see color or the letters and the layout, it is because the CSS style sheets allow that to happen. The browser may also execute JavaScript code on the web page to add interactivity, meaning when you go to a button, something happens. There is a response, and also the dynamic behavior between you and the page. As the new content is loaded or changes are made to the web page, the browser updates the display accordingly. So as you navigate, you will see a different sequence of things, and all this happen because all these coding are being analyzed, work around by the browser. So sometimes we just look something online, but we don't think about what happened. So this is a little bit of that process. So continuing with what makes a browser. Building a modern web browser for those who have to do it is considered a challenging task. The mere number of components that work together is almost mind-boggling. Every browser has its own ideas for these elements with different levels of support for certain web technologies. That's why websites could look and act differently across other browsers. So if you use, for example, Chrome doesn't work exactly the same as Microsoft Edge does. So they have different components depending on what is the priority of that browser. Regardless, the core functionality of the components remains the same and are as follows. The web browser UI. This is also known as the user interface. It is the part of the application that you can see and interact with, so what is visible to your eyes. Some people refer to the UI as Chrome. Not Chrome browser, but Chrome. This is where the name for Google's Chrome browser came from, essentially, but the name applies to the user interface elements of any application that allow you to find things online. It includes something that you are very familiar with, which is called the address bar, where you can type in the website URL, also known as Uniform Resource Locator, right, that you want to visit. So that is the web browser user interface. So in this same web browser user interface, you have the back and forward buttons to navigate visited websites. I don't know if you have paid attention to this, but whenever you go online, after you look for a page, you will see at the top left, I believe left of your screen, that you have now arrows that go either to the left or to the right. If you go to want to go back, is the left. If you want to go forward, is the right. Next one, here in the web browser user interface, we have the refresh and stop buttons. Also, this is something that people overlooked. What this does is that allow you to reload or stop loading a web page. So if you have a slow internet connection or your internet is working a little bit funny that day, sometimes you won't see the full information of the page. It will show certain part of the page, and sometimes it will stick there, or it will be stuck there. You can use this reload button to launch that again to do a refreshing. So the information will be displayed in full as opposed to part of the content of that web page you are looking for. Next, in the web browser user interface, and remember, this is the portions of the browsers that you can see, that you can interact with. Tabs, right? Tabs allow you to have multiple websites open simultaneously and switch between them, right? So here in this image at the bottom, you can see, I know this is small, but essentially you have the stack up of your pages. You can multitask. You can go to a web browser reading about your health, and another you can go and read about what browsers are. So that is a little bit of what that is for. And a little bit more about some of the, mentions we did before in a couple slides. When you type a website's address or URL into the browser, it sends a request to a server that stores all the information for that website. The server then sends the request information back to the browser to generate the website you see on your screen, as we discussed. The server's information contains essentially three types of files: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we are going to see what each of these do. So the HTML, also known as Hypertext Markup Language, tells the browser what text, images, and links to display and where to put them on the page. And this will play in the case that you are using like a small device instead of a computer, because the organizations of things is gonna be different. The same things that you see in the computer are not going to be the same things you see in the cell phone, just for the fact that you have less space. And that's just an example. Now you have CSS, also cascading style sheets. It tells the browser what colors to use, what font to use for the text, and how to make the page look pretty, so it's appealing to the user. An example that I can think about this kind of coding is now the accessibility, because some people have some issues with some colors. Sometimes the website will have adaptations to the color they can see better, so they can read things better. So that is when cascading style sheets play or come to play. So HTML, it is the blueprint of a website. This is the first step while building the requested website once you type something on the internet. CSS, on the other hand, is like painting and decorating the website, so it's appealing and also adaptable to the needs of the user, and it's considered the second step. Now you have the rendering engine. This component is responsible for displaying the web page on your screen. It takes the server's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so it combines the three and builds the web page you see. So it takes all the information that we've been discussing, right? And it processes it. The rendering engine also handles web page layout, painting, and reflow. It's like organizing things, so it's better suited for the user. It was responsible for displaying the web page correctly on different devices and screen sizes. Every browser has its own rendering engine, and just to name a few, Chrome uses the all-power Blink. Firefox uses the Gecko engine. Safari has the WebKit, and Microsoft Edge uses the Edge HTML engine. And these are the rendering engines that allow them to operate in the way they do. You don't need to remember this. This is just for the sake of information. The JavaScript interpreter. So this little guy here handles the performance critical aspects of a website. Essentially, it executes code quickly and efficiently, allowing web pages to load faster and run smoothly, right? This is what allows you to see your pages display faster than you will ever want. Compiles the JavaScript code into machine code understandable for computers. So what you type online is not necessarily the same language of the computers that gets the information for you in the results page. So the JavaScript interpreter is kind of the medium part on this end. This process is called compiling and interpreting. When the code is in this kind of form, the engine runs it and make the website interactive and dynamic. So you see how all the components have their different functions in the operation of a browser. That is what we often overthink. And JavaScript enables special effects like moving objects. So whenever you can drag something in a web page, like animations if you are playing video games online, and also the showing of popping up messages. So that is something is built in this portion of the web browsers. Some of the most popular JavaScript engines are V8, SpiderMonkey, JavaScript Core. V8 is used in Google Chrome, SpiderMonkey is used in Mozilla Firefox, and JavaScript Core is used in Apple Safari. Microsoft Edge, on the other hand, use something is called Chakra, and these are their JavaScript engines that allow them to operate in the way they do. The networking layer. This component handles the communication between the browser and the server. When you type a URL into the browser, the networking layer sends a request to the server for the files to build the web page. It is also the portion that handles cooking, caching, and redirects. A redirect is when you have a button within the page you already have in front of you, and that sends you somewhere else. So to recap, the UI or the user interface allows you to navigate and interact with the web. The rendering engine displays the web pages. The JavaScript engine runs the interactive scripts on that page. And the networking layer handles communication with the server so you can see results according to what you are looking for online. Now, functions of a browser. You might know some of them, but we are going to explore so you have a better understanding about what is exactly the function of these tools. So navigations. Navigation, in this case, browsers provide an intuitive interface for navigating the internet. You can enter a website's address directly into the address bar, and then the browser will take you to that specific web page, which is a miracle in itself, considering how far we have come in the use of the internet. Additionally, you can click on hyperlinks within the web pages to navigate other related pages. This goes close and hand on what I just said. When you are in a web page and you have different buttons and you have letters that have some content behind them, whenever you click in that, so you move from that page you were seeing to the other page that is behind the button or the link you see within the website you were looking at. Browsers also support bookmarks, which is the ability for you to organize and save frequently visited websites so you can quickly access them later on. So within navigation, we have bookmarks and history. Bookmarks act as shortcuts, allowing you to quickly revisit those websites that you love without remembering their URL. Sometimes you just have to type 2 letters of the website and you will see how the results pop in. So you don't have to finish typing. Browsers also maintain a history of the websites you have visited, providing a chronological record that you can browse through to revisit previously viewed web pages. This is a sort of double end in the sense that if you are okay with the browser gathering this information because you want to have it after to look at the pages you visit, it's okay. But if you feel uncomfortable with the browser saving this, you can always eliminate your browsing history. More functions of a browser. So you have tabbed browsing. Tabs transform web browsing by allowing you to open multiple web pages within a single browser window. So you have a window, and with that window, you can have 3, 4, 5, you name it, tabs on it, and you can switch between them just by clicking in the name of each tab. So instead of opening different browser instances on each page, you can open the tabs, each representing a different web page. This feature simplifies multitasking and makes switching websites easy without cluttering your screen as it used to be back in the day when you have so many windows open that it was a little bit overwhelming to manage. So now if you are browsing multiple web pages at the same time, you can have them in a window. You don't have to open multiple ones. Search functionality. So browsers often include a search bar, as you probably know, typically located in the toolbar, meaning at the top of the browser. This search bar is integrated with popular engines such as Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo. Instead of navigating to a search engine's website, you can directly enter keywords or phrases into the search bar. The browser sends then your search query to the chosen search engine, displaying relevant search results. Okay, so now we are gonna move to the front end of a browser, and we are gonna understand a little bit more about this front end and what it entails. The front end of a browser refers to the user-facing part that you interact with. It includes the graphical user interface, elements such as the address bar, navigation buttons, bookmarks, and tabs. The front end also handles the rendering of web pages, which is what displays the content, images, and interactive element on your device's screen, no matter what device you use, whether it's a computer, smartphone, tablet, you name it. So the browser toolbar, we briefly saw that before. This is where most of the interaction takes place. So the address bar displays the current URL. If you're already in a web page, you will see the details of that web page at the top in the address bar. You can type the URL into the address bar to navigate to that page. And two common ways to access a web page are from the browser itself or from a documents link. That document links can be something that you receive in your email, somebody send you a text if you are using your mobile, and from your mobile, you will go to the internet. This is not so safe if you don't know who is sending you the link. So you only should be opening links if you know who sent you that link, because otherwise it can be also a way to spread viruses. A web page address can be found by searching through the default or favorite search engine and clicking links, or by browsing your favorites or bookmarks. On the other hand, the user can type also the address in the browser address bar. If you click a link from a Word file, PDF file, email, or any other program that has hyperlinks enabled, a feature that makes a web page address link come alive and be clickable will allow you to click on that link and open something in your browser. Like there is a connection between the link and having to redirect you to a different place. That is how you start your adventure on a website indirectly from a document you receive in the form of communication, such as your email, text, and any other medium of communication. The browser toolbar. So here are the browser buttons, commonly used functions and commands. So you have the back button. It's usually an arrow pointing to the left, allow you to navigate to the most recent previously viewed page. Keep that in mind, most recently previously viewed page. Forward button, an arrow pointing to the right. It is disabled unless you have recently used the back button. If you have recently used the back button and the arrow is light up, it has a color, it's not in a gray color, it means you can go forward and view that website. So just keep in mind, it navigates forward to the page you were viewing before you click back. So the forward button will only work if you actually went back, so you can go forward. I hope that makes sense. A stop button. It does what it says it does. It stops the action. Sometimes it will look like a circle with an X on it. If you realize the web page isn't right, you can hit the stop button when it's looking for that page to stop the process of loading that web page. It is useful when you have been in front of your electronic device for several minutes waiting for a page to load and nothing has happened and you want to stop your search, so you will use that stop button. You have the refresh button. It's also known as the reload button and allowed you to reload the page. So if the information is not coming completely on that page, you can use the refresh button so it loads again. So if you are having trouble loading the page, the graphics, styles, or something is just not right, you can hit the refresh button to start over on that page. Changes will happen as you move back and forth from a single window through the web. If you cannot go further backwards, like coming to the end of a path, that is how it's called online, meaning that button is not going to move any more after you don't see it with a color or is in a gray color, which means that function is unavailable. The same applies to the forward button. If you cannot go further from the point you are, it means there is no more path for you to do it. When I say path, is that the internet is not allowing you to do that action because there is nothing else forward or backwards. View site information. This is very useful for security reasons, and I'm going to explain why. So if you pay attention to the right side of my screen, you have the information, which is docs2go.com. And here it says connection is secure, cookies and site data, and also site settings. So these are details that you can get into it to see how the information is being collected and whether the website is secure and whether it's good to be on that website. Essentially, if you hover over the left side of a URL, you will see an option known as View Site Information. This goes better if you are in a computer. If you are in a tablet or your cell phone, you will have to tap. There is no hover option, right? Because the interaction with your touchscreen devices is different as opposed to when you have a mouse. When you click on this option, a dialog box bar pop-ups at the bottom and looks like the one you see on the right side of the screen. The homepage button. So the homepage button has the shape of a house, is a feature in a web browser that acts as a special bookmark. The only difference between a homepage button bookmark and a regular bookmark is that the home button is an actual home-looking button that sits in a different area of the browser. Normally, it will be at the top beside the browser bar. The address bar, it will be on the left. Home buttons aren't enabled by default in all browsers. So sometimes you will see them, sometimes you won't, and some don't even have or use a home button because they don't think it's functional. But it exists in a couple browsers. The menu button, so it's not present, similar to what happened with the home button, is not present in all browsers. It looks like 3 lines stacked on top of each other, or 3 dots next to each other, or in a vertical shape. It provides a way to do most of the things you can do. To name a few: new tab, new window, history, downloads, more tools, and settings. So the menu button is that extra set of choices that you have to keep managing your browser better. The main viewing panel. This is the large area in which the website's content actually appear. So if you go to a website, it's the area where the information is. And I use the Cyber Seniors page here, such as a reference. Back end. So the back end of a browser encompasses the complex process behind the scenes. It handles the communication between the browser and web servers, fetches and manages web page resources, and processes the code that makes up the web pages. The backend decodes HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files, ensuring that web pages are rendered correctly. It manages network connections, support protocols like HTTP and HTTPS, and handles security measures such as encryption and certificate verification. Under the hood. So under the hood, we have information that is stored when you look for something online. And you have cache. Cache is a storehouse of content, the page text, images, files, resources, etc. from sites you have visited already. So when you visit something online, that is information that your device gets from that visit online. Some of those resources that you get on your device are text, images, resources that come from the navigation you did. When you view the page again, some or all will be pulled from the cache so that you don't have to wait for the page to load over the internet. So what this means is the cache allow you to have the result or that page much faster in front of you, as opposed when you delete this, it will take a little bit longer for that information to pull in because the device no longer has it stored. Cache files are set to expire on a schedule so that you don't view outdated content. Data storage. Again, we are back to history and cookies. So history, all browsers keep a list of every website you visit. As I say also, you can delete this if you need to or want to. Cookie storage. Websites can store tiny bits of data on your browser called cookies, which can help them actually keep track of you as a specific user. What this means is that if you go to a website and you click on particular things, the website will know what you like better, right? And essentially they create a profile of the information you were looking at. All types of data like cookies are saved locally by the browser. Cookie storage, you can delete these or even prevent them from being stored in the first place. There is a cookie policy, and if you go online and you see like a disclaimer at the bottom of the page or somewhere in the page that says cookies are being used, just allow the website to use only necessary cookie. They don't need to use marketing cookies. They don't need to use analytical cookies. They only need to use necessary, which are the ones that allow the website to operate good and have the information you need. If you use other than necessary cookies, what they are doing is essentially built in a profile of who you are based on what you click on the website. Offline data storage. So newer browsers have also a data storage mechanism more robust than cookies, which allow web-based applications to store relevant data on your electronic device. What this means is that when you are not online, you can still use some of the things. An example of this is like Netflix. You can have one of the movies from Netflix save on the application, download on the application. And even though you might not get internet after or don't have internet after, just because you download it and got it on your platform Netflix, it would allow you to watch it offline. So this offline data storage is the capacity of an application to store information at a certain point. So when you are not using internet, it can reproduce that even though there is not a connection between the application and the internet. I hope that makes sense and I wasn't too confusing. Now we are in the end part of this. So this is browsers commonly used jargon. Here we have URL. So the Universal Resource Locator is called URL and is addresses that are unique as a resource on the web. We also have HTML, also known as Hypertext Markup Language, is used for creating web applications and pages. HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, allows to fetch resources like HTML documents. HTTPS, this is a secure protocol and it's called Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. And it works as HTTP does, but it encrypts for a secure server communication. I don't know if you have heard this before, but when you go online and you see in the address bar HTTP, it means that that page is not gonna be as secure like if you were using HTTPS. So if you can, and you know how, add the S after the P when you are in your address bar in that website to allow the website to be much safer. IP address. It spots the location of a specific server connected to the internet. Because you have a modem and you have internet at home, most likely you have an IP address, which is the online identification. Meaning, if you go online and look IP address, it will tell you where you are and what is the internet service you are looking, whether you believe it or not. DNS, Domain Name System, is a database containing domain records. And cookies. Cookies are small text files that are stored on the user's device by a website. When a user visits that website, the website may create a cookie to track information about the user's activity on the website or to remember the user's preference or login information. That's why some people don't like the cookies. And we have come to the end of the slideshow. I have some questions prepared for you if you don't have any questions, and we will play if there is time for that. If you would like to learn this lesson with a CyberSeniors mentor, remember you can go to our website, www.cybersenior.org, or call the 1-844-217-3057 to register for a one-on-one session. We also have weekly sessions for drop-in, meaning you can come with questions and join us on Zoom every Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's see if we have questions now before.
Thank you so much, Annie, for your informative session. Especially I love the history part of your presentation. I didn't know about Mosaic or Netscape, so I'll definitely do some research on that. So I appreciate that information. And about especially the parts of the browser, I think the back and the forward, and yes, just being able to type in google.com will take you to, just a website right then and there so fast is still a great thing that's come out of technology.
Yeah. All right. I know that somebody mentioned it's a little bit technical. I try to explain most of things in the best of my ability. It's technical because there is a lot of coding involved in browsing, just for the fact that you have to gather a lot of information from the internet. Imagine the amount of resources that there are. If you don't have any question because it's it's technical, that's okay. Just keep in mind that you have this slideshow, and I will add it later on in that folder, Alex, so you can share them as you please.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sessions are posted on our YouTube channel, so
wonderful.
we'll be able to review it. Denise, I see you have a hand up. You have a question for Annie or a comment?
Yeah. Hi, Annie.
Hi,
How you been?
good. What about you?
I've been good. I wanted to ask a question about the cookies because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I do apps and I be in there, it'll pop up. Do I
Mhm.
have to push it or just leave? Because I don't know, should I push it or I don't know. Sometimes I just come out of the app and go, leave it alone.
It depends, Denise, because not all websites will show that, but normally there is like a disclaimer at the bottom, right? You have a disclaimer at the bottom, and in
Right.
that disclaimer, you need cookies. The website need cookies to operate, so they cannot be removed. You can reject what kind of cookies the website uses. What this means is that there is different classification. So if you go to the settings of that disclaimer that you have there, sometimes they will have a gear icon, something of that nature. You can decide what cookies you can allow the website to store. And the ones that I have mentioned are necessary cookies. You don't need to have marketing and analytical cookies on. You can disable that, and they have sometimes as like a toggle bar that you can switch on. Like, I wish that I have an example in front of me, but I do not. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. But yeah, so it's just paying attention to that disclaimer, right? Because in the disclaimer you can set up what kind of cookies are used.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll work on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Good
No
seeing
problem.
you.
Of course. Me too.
Thank you.
Okay. Who wants to play the game if there is no more questions? Like the game of answering questions for me.
Oh no, we definitely have some time.
Yeah.
And Mr. has a good background information, and yeah, definitely take advantage of the video to review a lot of the concepts as well. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I look forward to the game, Annie, and I'm here to.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, I will let me pop up my notes here because I have it in my notes. Sorry. Okay. Who wants to give me an example of a search engine? No browser, search engine. So example of a search engine. You can unmute. Alex can help me with that. Anybody? Search engine?
Raise your hand, please, in Zoom.
Yeah.
Annie, did you see Miss Pamela's chat?
Yeah, I'm just typing it for her right now.
Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Yeah, no
Appreciate it.
problem. Okay. Nobody? No takers? Okay, I will just answer. So search engine, you have Google, you have DuckDuckGo, you have Bing, you have Ecosia. So those are search engines. Let's see if you can guess the next one. Name browsers, just any browser that you know. You can raise your hand. Yeah. If you know or want to name any browser, it doesn't matter which one it is. Okay.
Miss Clement?
Yeah, Brenda. Nice.
Chrome.
Okay, Chrome, that is a browser. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Miss Clement. Brenda, can you give an example?
Yeah, Firefox.
Firefox?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. What
Thank
about
you.
Rosemary?
Shoot,
You
I
can-
was gonna say Firefox too. What about the one with Safari?
Safari is a browser, good, and that is the one of choice for you Apple device, such as
Right.
your tablet. Yes.
Thank you, Miss Rosemary.
Thank
Any
you.
other? Yeah,
What
we
about-
have mentioned 3. So any other?
Microsoft Edge.
Microsoft, that's a very good answer. Yes.
Good
Thank
job,
you,
Miss
Miss
Mary.
Mary. Fantastic. All
Mhm.
right. So, somebody else has another one. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Yvonne.
Vaughn?
Would you consider YouTube a browser? YouTube?
No,
You would not.
no, it will not be a browser. No,
How would you define that?
it's just
Search.
like a streaming video application.
Okay.
Yeah. What about Mary? Mary has another one. It has to be different to the ones we have mentioned. So we already have Safari, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and Google Chrome. So it has to be different to the 4 we have mentioned. It's simple. Go ahead, Miss Brenda.
Internet Explorer.
Internet Explorer, yes, good.
Okay.
But it no longer exists in our days, but yes, that was a browser, good.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Braxton, do you have another one? There was 2 that Annie mentioned in her history, so
I did.
one of
Yeah.
those.
AOL.
What do you say again, Miss Braxton?
AOL.
AOL?
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, I won't consider AOL
Maybe that.
a
Okay.
browser.
Now,
No.
Miss Braxton, so, but
It was more like back in the day, was more like a source of getting information, and after evolved to what we know as email.
Oh,
I can see why you would think that, but it's not. But I can see why. I mean, it's a valid reason. I mean, it's a valid one, but it's not. What about
Okay.
Harold? Yeah. Harold?
Mr. Harold?
Yeah, I think I heard the question. So if I think I understood and heard the question, it may be Mozilla or Netscape.
Yeah. Netscape was one back in the days, and Mozilla also. Yeah. And now we have Firefox, which is the transition from Mozilla, I guess. Mozilla Firefox. Good answer, Mr. Harold. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sound like Miss Laverne now putting a skirt on me.
Oh,
I
thank you.
apologize. I always get the gender mix. I don't know why.
Oh,
Have
it's a
been
beautiful
since I
thing.
started.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. That was a very good answers though. Okay, we have one more. Is that right? No. Okay. So let's go to another one. We have, let me see, 3 more minutes. We can make the most of it. Okay. What is the function of the arrow pointing backwards on your browser? So what is the function of the arrow pointing backwards to the browser? Madeleine said DuckDuckGo, yes.
That's what you talked about that in a few months ago.
Yeah,
So,
I did.
goodness, Madeline, thank you so much.
Yes.
So your question was name what the back button in the browser does, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, Miss Mary, do you want to respond to that question?
Go ahead, Miss Mary, you can unmute.
Is the history, that tells you the history of what you've been, looking at?
Not necessarily. That's not. So I'm not gonna give the answer because I wanna see if Geraldine or Mary had the answer, but that is not what it is. Technically, but not.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say, Miss Mary, you're on the right track, okay?
Yeah, you are on the right track, yes. But you're not like entirely wrong. It just we need to organize those thoughts better. Geraldine, go ahead.
Okay, you go back to the previous page.
There you are. That's the
Good job,
one.
Brandon.
Yeah, it's related to history, but it's going back to the previous page. Yes, good. Okay, so I'm not gonna take any more answers because that is the answer. But you can participate in the next one. So I appreciate that you guys are actually answering. Okay. What does it mean if you see 3 dots or the ellipsis symbol on your browser? Like anywhere on the browser, what it means, what it's for. Go ahead, Miss Betty. You can unmute, Miss Betty.
What was the question?
Okay, the question is, what does it mean if you see 3 dots or the ellipsis, which is essentially 3 dots vertical or horizontal in your browser? So sometimes you will find that. What is it for?
That there's a continuation?
Yeah, kind of. Anybody else want to add to that, to what Miss Betty said?
Thank you so much, Betty.
Yeah, thank you. So what is the 3 dots, whether they are vertical or horizontal, on the browser do? What are they for? Go ahead, Miss Brenda.
Miss Madeline said, is it a drop down for additional pages?
Close to that. Miss Brenda just down the hand. Okay. Go ahead, Geraldine and Denise. Geraldine first.
It's for the menu.
It's for the menu. Yes. And if we combine some of the answers that we have, essentially, when you see that, it means that you have extra options, that you can see menu, that you can see functions that otherwise you won't see display on the browser toolbar. So that is what they are for, to see extra set of options that you otherwise won't see. So technically it's to see additional pages, but no pages of the internet, just pages of functions that you have, just to rephrase it. Okay, let's go to the last one. And who knows what is web browsing history? So who knows what is web browsing history? Not the credit history, not quite, but who knows that? Go ahead, Yvonne.
Would that be cookies?
Yeah, that is part of cookies. Like web browsing history has cookies, yes.
Just in general, Yvonne, what does
Yeah.
Oh,
mean when you say web browsing history?
Yeah. But she's not right. She's not wrong. It's actually the history has cookies, but there is a general term
word
to that.
for it. Okay, let's
Yeah, yeah.
see.
But you did good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Miss Betty. I'm gonna go to Miss Betty to give the follow-up of what Yvonne said. But good job, Yvonne. You have been doing good. I appreciate your participation. Miss Betty, you can tell me what is web browsing?
Is it where you've been, the searches you've made already?
Yes. It shows everything that you have been
You've been-
doing until
right.
that point, right? If you don't delete it, it will show everything, and it will be
Everything, yeah.
chronologically organized by
Right.
recent at the top normally and oldest at the bottom, because it show like a stack up list. And yeah, so Miss Brenda, you want to add to what Miss Betty said? Is that right? Okay, she just lowered the hand.
I think Betty and Yvonne together, they both got it. So thank you all.
Yeah, but just to elaborate more on that, so his browsing history can have cache,
Yes.
It can have cookies. It can have passwords, usernames. So all that is part of browsing history because it's information that pages have taken from you when you use those pages. But that is just kind of the deep end of the history, because when you go online and you try to delete your history, you will see that it's not only about the website. It will show if you want to delete your passwords, if you want to delete the images, if you want to delete the temporary files that have been stored from the browser. So all that encompass history. So you were not wrong on that, Yvonne. All right, so that has brought us to the end. I hope that you guys enjoyed the questions and answer that I brought for you today. I actually have more prepared, but I mind we will have multiple people trying to participate. So
Oh, thank you so much, Annie. I do see we have a hand from Vaughn. Just want to make sure that we address Vaughn. Do you just have a general question for Annie?
Yes, well, yes, I've often wondered, Alex and Annie, if I should delete I do a lot of Google searches, and should I delete that because is that taking up a storage space? Should I delete those histories? And if so, how do you do that?
Okay. Yes, I think you should delete it. And it's not that it takes it's not so much a storage, it's so much the resources that it uses, because when you have too much information, that slows down the process of finding things online. So, Yvonne, if you have a Microsoft computer, I don't know if you use Chrome, I can probably show from mine. It won't look exactly like yours, but you will get the idea. So
Okay.
let me know if you see this screen.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is my browser, right? And here are the little dots at the top right corner. And this is most likely when you will have yours situated if you are using a computer. So if you go to the three dots, you will have an option that is called history. And within history, you can see the list of all things you have been doing on the browser. When you are in the list, you have an option that is called clear browsing data. And then it will show you what is that you want to clear. And you have basic and you have advanced. So in advanced, you can delete the browsing history, downloads, and all the information that has been collecting. And you just have to click in each of these boxes. And when you are done, you will click in here. That is in the case that you are using a computer. If you are using your tablet, you will have to go to Safari, and you will have to open the menu of Safari by the little square that is at the top left of the Safari browser. And there will be an option that is called history. And from there, you can decide when you want to delete. You can delete all time, 24 hours, things of that nature. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
No
so
problem.
much.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Miss Brenda. Last one.
Annie, didn't you tell us that at one time we could use a search engine that does not hold on to your history? I think, wasn't it DuckDuckGo? What happened? You got frozen? Hello?
Yeah, Brenda, I don't see Annie as well, or here as well. Just to answer her question, I hope she comes back. I mean, certainly you can utilize, that specifically,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's really up to you. Again, it doesn't take up storage necessarily, and sometimes it's good to have a history because when you do search certain things, like if
Yeah.
you again, it'll automatically pop up when you're in the search bar of Safari per se. So,
Right.
um, just you know, it's not an everyday thing for me. I don't want to clear sometimes my history because
Okay.
I want it just to be able to more easily search things. Like if I typed in something before I type it again, then it will come up before I finish typing. So that's why, you know, sometimes you know, it's
Well, I didn't want to use it on the tablet. I wanted to, I mean, on the iPad. I wanted to use it on my desktop because, you know, like I was just telling my son when I was looking for a refrigerator, I put in everything that I was looking for, and a few hours later, I got offers for a refrigerator from other sites. So that's why I was saying, you know, if I put the search engine on my desktop, I think she had a class about that,
yeah,
where
I mean
they
that's
don't
what
follow
happens
your
when you
history.
yeah, I mean that's what happens when you're utilizing you know cookies actually because it senses you know what you know that you like sites you visited before, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean it's just up to you if
Yeah.
you want to keep you know again the history on your device or not, or if you want to like accept cookies or not based on those different just things that you want to search. Just essentially if you want to clear your browsing history for whatever reason, you can, but it's not necessary per se because it does actually help out. You know, the more that you use your device, the more that'll recognize what you like to search or want to search from the ones you've done before.
Okay. All right. All
Well,
right. Thanks, Alex.
thank you, Brenda. Have a good day.
Thank you too.
And well, I hope well, I know everything's okay with Annie, but I hope y'all enjoyed the session today on web browser, anatomy, and just learning more about the backgrounds of what goes on when you, in matter in fact, try searching something in the search bar. So I'm gonna go and start our poll for the day, but then afterwards, once you complete it, you are free to go, and I really appreciate you all coming on to today's session.